I got engaged in Hadramaut because it was the perfect kind of terrain and domain that was rich and undiscovered, almost virgin country of mud brick architecture. And I found myself in front of a huge wealth of cultural civilization, if you like, and a depth and meaning I have written about, which was very moving for me architecturally, moving both intellectually and professionally. And this is what inspired me to want to engage with the builders, engage with the people, understand better the savoir-faire, if you want, understand better how they managed to do this genius type of designs in high-rise buildings of 7 and 8 stories high that were built in sun-dried mud brick. So we're talking here of both a design concept and a technology that was extremely well composed, in the sense that it was still relevant and contemporary in 1982 when I first went there. And I felt this is the world I belong to. The dignity of these people is in constructing houses. They achieve this by constructing a house. The minute they amass a certain amount of money, or they save a bit of money, they construct a house. It's the first thing they do. They construct a house and continue constructing the house, because the house is part of the architecture, is not separate from the terrain. The architecture is part of the ecosystem, an entire comprehensive, integral system that operates with the environment, with the ecological factors, with the social factors, and with the urban organization and, if you like, urban order. And once you break away from that integral system that they knew how to construct and operate and develop and be a part of and grow with, and walk out into these cubes that are being constructed for them out of cement, you find that they are at complete loss. They lose everything in the process. These houses are being built in arid lands. They're not close to their fields. They don't have spaces for their animals. I mean, women still go out with their animals every morning, with their goats and sheep and graze, and spend the whole day in the mountains and come back. So it's a system that is operating in a certain equilibrium, and of course the equilibrium is being disturbed all the time. And this is why I find that one of our roles, or my role and the role of the foundation, is to help establish and give confidence to the people that you're on the right track, and we shall try and fund and bring in any projects that will assist you to kind of resuscitate any of these buildings that will go otherwise. I have always maintained that I am an architect, and that's what I do. I do architecture. The architecture I do combines both research and design. The research that we do is applied research. It's not research that is just theoretical. The rules have to be written, we have to understand the language, we have to understand the vocabulary that is used in the architecture. However, this requires research. Design requires research to understand the lines, to understand the forces, to understand the engineering of these buildings, to understand the depth, to understand heights and widths and bricks and how they operate. All of this requires a form of research on our part, because the builders, the master builders and the craftsmen operate without the need for them to refer to texts or references. I always looked at what architecture I was working with as something contemporary and present. And the reason I was enthused by it, and the reason why it moved me so much to develop it and work with the people on it, is because I wanted this to be a vision for the future. I wasn't going to reinvent anything. I just wanted this culture to be maintained and developed as a strategy for the future. Everything that Hassan Fathy established, to my mind, is still viable. The language at the time when I was working or studying with him or being with him was for me a breakthrough, a complete breakthrough, the language and the vocabulary. Now I look back and it touches me more than I find it, because I know it by heart. I know it almost by heart. But in the process of going through his papers and looking at them, I was thinking the other day that, you know, these are things everybody, every architect, every student of architecture must read. Just must read as background reading, you know. It's like it's part of the literature of architecture that has to be read and understood. And it's so well written and so easily written that I think all students of architecture will benefit from it, irrespective whether they agree or disagree. You know, and disagreeing is very important. But also there's this other way of thinking which we have to bring into our understanding of how we deal with architecture. And the worst thing that happened to architecture is that it has been confined and compartmentalized in these different styles and trends, like the Frank Gehry, Nouvelle, Stefano Boeri, you know, how people think, how people create, and they all have to relate to each other. Well, sometimes they don't have to. And if we need to think of the future, we also need to think that this creative process cannot happen independently from communities. And this is what Hassan Fathy was concerned with. And there has never been a better design approach, I believe, to the question of designing for the peasants in the villages or for the poor in the cities, in the same way that Hassan Fathy tried to tackle the work. When I think of him, I find myself smiling. He was a wonderful man.